Martin, we're here to talk about referees. Is there enough of this?
In what sense?
Is there enough communication, talking,
Well,
maybe
I think
between the
that,
sides in football?
I mean, I know that from my own experiences as a player. I worked under Brian Clough, who was very, very strict in the sense that he did not want players arguing with the referees. He felt that they had a difficult enough job, and he also felt that if discipline was missing there, that it would be missing all around the pitch. So from that viewpoint, I think that I would preface everything by saying I've got the utmost sympathy for referees. It's the most difficult job in the world. It's been made even more difficult now by the number of camera angles that people show certain incidents. The referee has got a split second in which to make a decision, and sometimes he lives or dies by that decision. Sometimes it does affect the course of a game, and I'm saying this, and I'm far from an innocent case where I've berated referees myself in my time, thinking that they might get something relatively simple correctly, but it is difficult. It's a difficult task, and I think that anything that can help in that sense has got to be a good idea.
It takes all sorts, all personalities, and what Brian Clough preached to you, it might have been difficult maybe for you personally to take on yourself as a manager.
Well, I think again, getting back to the very point that we talked about, the game has definitely changed. You know, it's in our days as players, even when the side was so good and playing in European Cups, you might not even been covered every single week in television. So referees could make mistakes. I think that there was a feeling that some matches had been decided by the referee's decisions. However, you moan for a little bit and you get on with it. But now it just seems to be a constant moaning. So again, it's just reiterating the point that the referee's job is particularly difficult now, and sometimes I must admit they don't help themselves. But generally speaking, it's a thankless task.
To what extent
but it has to be done. Otherwise, we don't have a game.
Do you think the managers could do more to help?
I think we all can. I think we can all help as well too. I know that there was a view held a way back. I went to a meeting about 18 months ago, where there was talk that a lot of the managers at that time were talking about the referees maybe saying something afterwards, where let's say a game on television, where they could come out and say, well, this was the reasoning for making these decisions, and perhaps maybe it might have taken a bit of heat out of the situation. I suppose there was arguments for and against that, and I think the referees in general are sort of against it themselves. I haven't really thought it through, really, but it is a possibility.
To what extent was Brian Clough one-off in that respect, along with other respects of his management?
Well, I mean, he was just... it's funny how we started off talking about referees. I mentioned Brian Clough, and you want to deal with Brian Clough. Fantastic manager, the most charismatic manager that's ever been in the British game, and his record is there for all to see. Really brilliant. I was fortunate to play in a really good team way back in late 70s, early 80s, and it was a genuine privilege. Sometimes you didn't realise it was a privilege when you were there, but it's only afterwards when you realise how brilliant he was.
Did you ever cop a fine for indiscipline where referees were concerned?
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I was sent off in a game once, and totally my own fault in a match. And yes, I got an earful in the dressing room just afterwards, and the continuation of a fine for some time. And in those days, you know, fines were hefty. You're talking about where the money it was very, very important to you, and let me put it this way: I didn't do it again.
Mm-hmm. As a percentage of wages, it would be a
it
lot
was,
higher.
It was pretty tough.
Yes, talked to Nigel, his son, recently, and he said that he was disappointed in himself that he hadn't continued entirely what his father preached, you know, as a manager. But
is that right? Did he?
Did he?
Say yeah, that, yeah, I didn't. Obviously, well, he had certainly a good teacher, both on the field of play and I could say at home. But anyway, only Nigel would know that himself.
Just finally, your view on technology and how Sepp Blatter's come out with a plan that managers can have a challenge per half. Are you with that one, or do you think maybe there should just be a video referee?
Again, I haven't really thought that one through, but I have to think that the technology has improved the game. A couple of things really. One, goal line technology should have been brought in quite some time ago. Absolutely right. England might have beaten Germany in that game in the World Cup way back some years ago. And if that had been the case, the momentum was with them then, if they had been given that goal that Frank Lampard had scored. It's the one case I just happen to remember. But that's not the point. I think in general it's been a really good thing. And actually something really as simple as in the last World Cup of the 10-yard marks, you know, the referee is going for the little spray. It's just terrific, you know, simple, excellent. And it cuts out an awful lot of fuss. It's really, really decent. So there have been, you know, you want to make the game, you want to try and improve the game if you can, without taking away some of the traditional things of it. And I think that's the way that we're going. But probably worth having a look at some other things that might be worthwhile in the end. There are a couple of challenges made in American football. Take little timeouts. I'm not so sure about the timeouts. Perhaps maybe a challenge that might be worth looking at. If it is, it might be the only idea that Sepp Blatter's ever had.
At the moment, of course, you're dealing with international referees. Are they a different animal?
I really don't know. It's not. I really can't make that assessment at this moment. Only played one competitive game, and from that viewpoint, I thought the referee in Georgia did exceptionally well in the match, and so I wouldn't have any complaints. The other games have been friendly matches, and I think that there was a degree of leniency shown in those friendly games that wouldn't have been there in competitive matches. Too early for me to make assessments in that.
Martin,
okay.
Thank you very much.
No